Old order changeth yielding place to you. Every new changes are welcome and better. But being an educationalist and being intellectuals, we have to ponder over the pros and cons of national education policy, for which we have gathered over here on Pavitra Gandhi Jayanti over this national education policy, because it's not a debate, rather it's a group discussion, it's a virtual meet. What the intellectuals they think over this, that's what we are going to ponder over, for which at the outset, Mr. Ravidas sir to deliver his speech on the national education policy that has been passed.
Organizations are opposing it because people think that this education policy has made way for private investment in education. Education from school days to college to research. Private investment. Private investment must come to the education. But in the higher education is all right. But in school education, this private investment and corporatization of education will be dangerous. And it has become dangerous till now. People, that is the objective should be. Then in higher education, research, let the private investment come. But from school days, if you go for corporate, now we have seen in Odisha, most of the government schools are starting to close. People are not going to the government school because government school cannot provide the quality. People think that the government schools cannot provide them the quality education to their children. Many people who have little means, whatever means they are trying to send their children to private schools, or so-called, they call it public, but it is private schools. Whoever has little means is sending. Even to Saraswati Shishu Mandir, which is also paid, you have to pay for it. So that kind of thing in a education system is creating a great gap in the education system. Rich people are getting better benefit, poor people are not getting the minimum education that they need to compete in the society, because you need a competitive society. For competition, if the poorer section will not be able to read from the school days, then how are they going to compete? They can't. They have talked about vocational education. Who will go to the vocational education? How this vocational education will train? When I was a student, after the independence, vocational education was introduced in schools also. There are teachers for that. Vocational training classes were there, but it couldn't survive because neither the state has the determination for that, nor the education system had the purpose. Yes, by vocational we can create, because those vocational training, whoever got whatever training there, were not able to get any employment outside. So that is the reason I see whenever you are going for vocational education, people will not go to vocational education unless they see a clear field. Now we have a lot of vocational colleges and schools, which they said this Dakshata Mission, skilled education. What has happened? People getting trained, educated in skill development institute are also not getting employment. That is another big issue. So that is the reason when they are preparing an education policy, education for all, universalization of education. So that is, you must framework a system in which everybody gets an equal opportunity to read. Everybody gets, whoever, whatever maybe is economic status and social status, he must get it. I think this system, this education policy that has been given, whose intentions are good, objectives are good if you see, but the way of implementation has not been clear, and the way it has been described and put forth, I think this will give rise to corporatization of education. And corporatization of education in a poor country like India, where vast majority of people can't even afford 2 square meals a day, their children will be deprived of education. So that is exactly the reason this education policy in whichever state it is going, wherever it will be implemented, nobody knows. But every state is trying to read it, reread it. Can they do it? Can they do it? If they do it, where they will get the resources to see that every individual, every citizen, by every family gets the opportunity to read. the universal education. Even universal education has not given us even the total literacy so far. So this kind of policy that this new education policy has brought out, and this year, whatever its intentions are, the implementation part has not been spelled out. And from the outlook, one can see it's an invitation for corporatization of education, which is, I think, will be dangerous for a country like India.
So many chosen intellectuals are over here to discuss upon this topic. I request Sanjeeb Mohanty to deliver his speech on this.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank for giving me that opportunity to meet you people and provide my views and input on this interesting and important topic. From last 16, 17 years, I can see the clear gap between the education when we have got in India and we have got outside world. When you want to, compare, we want to see how we want to compete with the outside world, what exactly is required. Now, the education policy which has come, I see, okay, we have got a new education policy for the growth of India. But when I saw that, when the first question was, is it really new? It's not a new education policy. It is the first policy of 21st century, but it's not a new education policy. So, and when I started looking at the format of the policy, I can clearly visible, it's clearly visible, I can clearly see is that what they have done is that they have tried to borrow the ideas from other countries and put it into small brackets and publish it as a new education policy. When we call about education, we say, okay, it's a fundamental aspect and requirement of every individual, no matter how poor or how rich you are. Because every country's growth is linked to education. How many educated people we have got. If we are calling at all that, okay, Odisha is a poor state or it has improved a bit, or India is a poor country, that the root cause is education. If people will be educated, then the poverty will go away automatically. Address all these four pillars. Our vision, the goal will not be fulfilled. The intention of the government is really good. Everything looks absolutely flawless on the paper. But when it comes to the implementation, when it comes to the realization, they are exactly where most of the policies fail. Because people, they don't see the benefits coming out of it. It all starts with a very proactive approach. Yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. But the bottom line is how you are going to do it, and explain bit by bit how you are going to do it with a desired output, with a step-by-step approach. I'm going to implement this step, what output I'm getting. If I have got a step-by-step approach, every step will have an entry and exit criteria. So the exit criteria of the first step will be the entry criteria of the second step. So unless these are glued together, this policy will not work. The second point is how you bring interest among the students. Before going to the students, it is up to the parents. So the government, when the central government comes in, one nation, one pension, one nation, one Aadhaar card, then why not one nation, one education board? Why we have CBSE, ICSE state board? Why do we have so many boards? And that is the fundamental gap in our education policy. If we are saying we will have one policy, one syllabus, and one type of education, then abolish all the boards, just keep one board. So why there is a differentiation between state board teachers, CBSE teachers, why the pay scales are different? When we are looking at the education is a fundamental aspect. We should have one board, one syllabus, one exam, one question paper, so that everyone is equal in when we are providing them the education. It is up to the individual's potential that how they are coming up to the outside the world and compete themselves. Everyone has a scope to learn new things. The schools, they provide the foundation. They prepare the students. So for the preparation stage, the schools or the government should help understanding what exactly is required. Mr. Ravi Das, he touched upon a sensitive topic, saying that on the language. Even I have the same feeling. We have got every individual has to learn 3 languages. One is the national language, which is Hindi. One is local language / mother tongue, and then I call it specifically the communication language or the job-oriented language, that is English, because that's a must when you go on the outside in the outside world. You have to compete. But do you really require to learn all the 3 language or the all course of time? Can I not learn a language at home? Why do I need to learn all the language at school? I should when a child enters a school, when you are looking at the first 16 years, or when let's say a child enters the school at age 3, when you're looking at the first 13 years of a child's life cycle in a school, then what language he should learn or she should learn from day 1? What are the subjects we should learn from day 1 for all 13 years? The subjects which should be critical for us, for our personality development, for our career goals, those subjects we should start learning from, your year age 3 to age 16 in the school. Whether it's mathematics, whether it's English, whether it's science, the continuity has to be there. We should not say, oh, year 6, this is your syllabus, it's finished. Now throw away your books, go to year 7. We should not be doing it. We should have the same subject should be carried forward throughout the life cycle, so that every student touched upon the subject, the continuity remains there, and that will help them building their future going ahead. Then coming back to like what type of innovation we have to bring, because that is another important criteria, that every student has to innovate themselves. So what facilities we have got in the innovation, in the education policy? There's nothing. How can we bring all the retired good school teachers that come and do our free education? How can you abolish the tuition formulas? How can you go back? How can you provide more infrastructure to the students depending on their individual's caliber? When the students reach year 10, then you have got year 11, year 12, and then the universities. Then what exactly they should be knowing? So that implementation roadmap is clearly a gap, is clearly missing. I think that's where it is a common view that everything looks good on the paper, but when it comes to the realization, it's a big 0. Unless we have the big, good clarity on that, it's not going to work. And we will not be able to compete with the outside world. We are still struggling as a country to keep our universities in the global 50 or global 100. In the last so many years, every year we are targeting, saying that this is what we'll be doing. We'll bring our universities in the global 100, global 50 list. We're still struggling. We're not consistent in that. And to be consistent there, we have to be, very strong foundation we have to build from schools. So policy is there, but how you need to have an infrastructure. We have all seen this in the difficult phase of COVID. Government announced, okay, do the online classes, but where is the infrastructure? Yeah, you will provide laptops, you will provide mobiles to the students, but can I get a Wi-Fi? Can I get a signal? If I cannot get a signal, what is the use of if I get a mobile, if I get a laptop? So those are the infrastructures the government has to provide. Unless you provide that, it cannot help. Then I have seen one more aspect, the adult learning for all. If we have got an adult learning, what's the plan? How you will motivate, who are already reached 60, 70 plus, that how they will learn computers? What you are going to do that? That's also missing. I think this is, primarily my view, looking at all the aspects. But I think I'll rest my points over here. I'll go to I think you should go to the other people to hear what their view is.
Thank you, Sanjeeb. I would waste much time. Rather, I would go directly to Siddharth Mahapatra. Siddharth Shekhar Mahapatra, who is renowned name in Trident Academy as an assistant professor, having a great number of years, has contributing to the students and in particularly educational field all over this. Welcome, Siddharth Mahapatra. Your views on national educational policies.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev, for your kind words. Actually, it's a very rare opportunity to be a part of this August gathering on this very special day. And I'm grateful to Ravi sir, and after a long time I meet Sambit, although we are meeting frequently. The question is, the policy, as Mr. Das said, so many things regarding that, and also so it was told by Sambit that what the first thing is that why it is new. The question is it really new? But I don't think it's new. And of course, we should not say new education policy. It's something which was there. You know, it started in 1968 when by, you know, of course, by the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi ji, and next it was also introduced in 86, where Rajiv Gandhi ji also wanted to do this. And of course, the purpose was learning without border, right? So whether it is new or old, the most important thing is that, you know, we have to understand why this policy, what is the necessity of this policy, and is there really a need for this policy, which we call the new education policy 2020. So the first thing I would like to tell, first thing, that why this policy, what is new, what exactly they want to do. There is, of course, the 10+2 has been changed with, the 12 years has been changed with this 15, you know, as we know, it's usually 5, 3, 3, and 4, right? So I'm not going to discuss in details regarding what the division is all about, because it will be absolutely wastage of time, because everybody is quite, you know, aware of all these things. But the question is, when we think of these policies, definitely there are so many things that are positive, of course. Now, if you look at the brighter aspect of thing, you will find a lot of things very good. People at the age of 6 will start learning, you know, about coding. You know, when they go to class 6, they will definitely go to learn coding and at par with the people at China. And they will learn what is software and mobile technology, you know, application. And it's definitely it sounds good. And there are so many things. There is ample opportunity for interdisciplinary studies where people will learn a lot of things simultaneously. There will be no burden, absolutely, because they will learn, you know, it is something which has not done all in a sudden. It started in 1968, running through so many phases. You know, after discussion, more than 2 lakh people were involved in this. You know, we cannot say that nobody was involved in this process. No, there was opinion pool. Of course, you know, when the ideas, you know, during this particular pandemic situation, it was implemented. So there was obvious reasons to feel, you know, what was the, you know, necessity of doing it in a hurry? So if you take it, look at from the political aspect, you know, you will find so many things which, you know, which was done in a hurry. But I'm sure if at all it is done, although in a hurry, but the purpose is definitely, the purpose is good. And what are the good things that we are supposed to have, you know, in this particular one? And when we think of this, definitely there will be an emphasis on the multidisciplinary studies, where there will be no, you know, you can say there will be no streams, you know, confined. People will not be confined to streams. When you go to the person who learns physics can also have an access to history. A person can also learn psychology. So this will be definitely a kind of multidisciplinary approach, will definitely lead to the development, all-round development of a particular student. And it is something, and when something comes in the beginning, definitely there will be a lot of chaos. But what exactly we are going to have, because as you know, if you go to the multi-entry and multi-exit, I'm trying to give in a nutshell what are the benefits that we are going to have out of the system. So the multi-entry and multi-exit will definitely give you a chance to, you know, take a jump from one place to another. For example, if you complete 1 year, you will get a certificate course. If you complete 2 years, you will get a diploma. And if you complete 3 years, you will get a degree. And of course, there is ample opportunity for your research when you go for the 4th year. And definitely there is a scope for, you know, enhancing your abilities, exploring your talent, and to give 100% to your abilities. So definitely this sounds very, very nice. But the question is, as you said, this is a very vast and comprehensive document. You know, if you go analyzing all these things, I'm sure, you know, how far, because I can't do justice to myself by saying that I know everything about the topic, because it's so vast, it's so comprehensive that possibly we may miss something by a whisker. But at the same time, let us think the good things about it. And these are the what I find something good about it, because the focus has been on skill. What Mr. Sandeep said from the beginning, that it's all about skill. It's all about how you present yourself other than your textual knowledge. What knowledge you have to be presentable in the world, and that makes you successful, other than getting a job or something like that. So if you want to be successful, you have to add an extra factor, and definitely that is what has been kept in, I think that has been given justice to in this particular one. And where people will get a kind of grading or whatever, their evaluation will be done not only on the basis of textual, people mugging up the lines and giving all those things. So everything will be taken into consideration. There are extra, co-curricular activities, there are extracurricular activities that will be taken into consideration. And of course, we will find a complete, complete human being, complete package rather. We will find a complete package. One comes out of the school or college education and comes to the milestone of life. That's very important. So definitely there are certain things which are very, very good. However, certain flaws cannot be ignored. Definitely there are flaws. And the most important thing, what I find, is the implementation. Sometimes what happens in India, we know between our thoughts and the action, the gap is so wide that you can drive a truck through. And this should not be the approach. Rather, we should have a kind of proper and solid planning, which, our words should be converted into action. And for that, we need to have a solid platform. So whether we are ready for that with that. So suppose for example, asking to attend classes, online classes as it is going on, I completely agree with Sambit that when you are asked to have complete, online classes, but are we really equipped with the technology? You might have a kind of Android phone, but does it really support the technology that supports to get the connectivity? So definitely, to look at others, it's good. Foreign countries have, we should have also. So there is no harm in imitating things which are happening in other countries for good. But at the same time, we have to, the most important thing, our aspirations should match the reality. We should not aspire something without having adequate preparation for reaching at that destination. So what is more important? We should have the kind of preparation which will ultimately take us to that. And the first and most important is the platform, the solid platform upon which we can build this castle. The first thing is that infrastructural development. So the implementation thoroughly depends on the infrastructure. I will definitely fall in line with Sambit in this case. Infrastructure matters a lot. Coming to the other point, this implementation needs, this infrastructure only helps the implementation, but for the implementation, there should be a kind of, desire. Implement something that we formulate, but implementing certain things needs a kind of commitment. So how committed we are for this implementation? So for that, definitely infrastructure comes. So most important is that we should have a thorough, intention of implementing this. We have to develop, and regarding the GDP, what I said, no, you need 6% of your GDP to match the requirement. And we are at the 3.3 or 3.4 right now. So in this context, so thinking about it is good. To having a kind of fabrication of ideas, it's fantastic. But at the same time, how far it is possible? Sounds very good. It's definitely something good. We go for a change. We go for a reformation. If you want to go for something big, we have to start thinking from now. But at the same time, we have to equip ourselves. And the most important thing, which has been a topic for discussion by many, is the language for the pre-primary education, the primary education that we have. And it is said it is mother tongue. So what will happen when there will be a person which, you have to go for a person from Andhra Pradesh, go to, Telangana, sorry, Tamil Nadu, and a person from Tamil Nadu comes to Kerala, so, or Odisha. So what will happen? Then that definitely that will lead to a lot of problems. English, it is said, English Rahit, English has to be somehow, excluded from this medium of communication. And I'm sure it is not going to have a great impact on it, because without English, you will restrict yourself to the rest of the, to your drawing room only, because English is the language which opens to you to the rest of the world. And definitely, this is a very important matter of concern. So language should not be very strictly followed in that case. Language medium of instruction can be any, it may be mother tongue, it may be English, it may be Hindi, but we should speak to a person in the language that he or she understands. So we should not be so, insular in our attitude to restrict people for expression. So that has got its own value. So let us have that idea from the beginning, because it is dominant language for internet, science and technology. And who people are the people who are living, the parents having a transferable job. So they will be restricted, they cannot express themselves. So this is what, the flexibility is there. Definitely it's a flexible concept. It's definitely a new concept, but a lot of ambiguity is there. And we have to find a solution to that first, because before we go for implementation for anything, we should go for a solid platform on which we can establish our ideas and give it a proper and concrete shape. Hope whatever I have, in this elimination I have in this stage areas, I have tried to give my opinions regarding that, and I'm sure I'll be definitely learning something from more from as the discussion goes on. Thank you so much. Now over to Sanjeeb.
Upper will focus upon light because we have no time. And have your views on national education policy, sir?
Do think it was there in the year 1968 when Indira Gandhi. Definitely, it's a very good thing in pen and paper, and whatever education policy has been designed, it's a good thing. But thing is that, as our Sanjeeb Mohanty sir has pointed out, 4 pillars of education like parents, student, teaching and teachers and infrastructure, that should be pointed out. That should be given utmost importance, because unless we give importance, or unless the parents are aware about the thing, that definitely the policy, the new education policy cannot be successful. Assigned to the responsibility to give vote of thanks. The first of all, I must express my vote of thanks to Srijukta Ravi Das, who is the speaker on the occasion, who has given his valuable time to share his views on this platform. So he has pointed out about the corporatization and implementation part of the new education policy that has been announced by the central government. So whatever education policy has been designed or announced by the central government, it is going to lead towards the corporatization part. That means here it is going to be privatized, and the government should not be there in the implementation part. And second thing, whatever GDP they have projected, like 6% GDP will be given in the sector of education, but it is also looking like a dream, because looking at the financial condition of our country, 6% is impossible. So Ravidas has definitely spoken a very good thing about the implementation part, which has already been focused by many speakers on this platform. That definitely we are speaking a lot of things, and when we are reading out the papers, it is consisting about 400 pages of new document policy. It's a good thing, but how far it is going to be realized, that's the important thing. So once again I congratulate Ravidas for sharing his views and coming onto this virtual platform. Thank you, sir. Then coming to Sanjeeb Mohanty, who has joined us from London, he has pointed out many things which are very much important nowadays. Particularly, there is a gap in education between our India and England. Whatever he feels, because he is staying at London, and he says that the education gap is found there. Whatever he got education in India, that is not there in London. Then thing is that old pattern, particularly the new education policy, is nothing but the old pattern is being revived. And he has also pointed out about the 4 pillars of education consisting of parent, student, teacher and infrastructure. That must be given focus before going to implement anything, because dream can be realized when it is translated into action. Unless until we translate into action, this type of policy cannot be implemented or cannot be simply realized. Then second thing is that implementation gap is there. Whatever he has pointed out, that gap is always there. Whatever we have formulated in Delhi, when it comes to Poly, we never get the things. Then coming to the Siddharth Mahapatra from Trident, he has also spoken very eloquent speech on the new education policy. He has also spoken about the same thing about the old policy that has been revived, which was there in the year 92 as well as in the year 68. Nothing new. And he has also mainly focused about the language, that English, main or the global language, that should not be discarded. No doubt your mother tongue is very much important, but still then, if you want to go outside, the global language is English. You cannot simply go out. And language should not be a barrier in any type of education. Whatever a child feels, he should take the language he needs or he wants. One should not impose that this type of language should be there in the syllabus. Then coming to the Manoranjan sir. Manoranjan sir from Cuttack, who has joined, he has also pointed out very beautiful things. Like your implementation part, as well as he has also pointed out that this is a very beautiful policy, giving impetus to the students. Earlier we used to read for the education, for the job. Right now we are very much going to be skill based. Definitely we are going to be employed. So it's a very good policy, but thing is that how far it is going to be realized, he has also the same doubt as stated by many speakers on this occasion. Then coming to our host, as well as the organizer of Future Perfect, as well as the organizer of this virtual platform, and also founder of Future Perfect, Mr. Sanjeeb Mohanty ji. So he has spoken at length about the drafting policies of the new education policy. He has given a various data of different types of lacunas that is there in the new education policy. And I congratulate as well as also give thanks to our Sanjeeb sir for organizing such type of webinar, as well as giving such type of data and lacunas and creating awareness among the students and the academicians about the different types of things that is there in our new education policy. Now coming to the ending part of the vote of thanks, I must once again congratulate all joined from different areas to this virtual platform. And once again, I congratulate as well as give my thanks to my friend as well as the founder of Future Perfect, who has organized such type of beautiful virtual platform and chosen a very beautiful topic for discussion. No doubt we are all from academic background as well as from journalism, like our Sujukta Ravi Das sir, who is from journalism background, but he has spoken a very right thing. So definitely it's a very good opportunity for all of us to discuss on the burning topic. So thank you once again. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a good day.
Many thanks to you.